Tonight, bracing for Ernesto, the Category 2 hurricane closing in on Bermuda. The storm packing torrential rains and destructive winds, life-threatening flash floods set to lash the British territory. We hear from an American couple escaping the island just in time. In Puerto Rico, hundreds of thousands still in the dark. And the serious rip current threat along the East Coast this weekend. We're timing it all out. Also tonight, the Harris economic plan. Vice President Kamala Harris rolling out her agenda to lower costs for Americans. But can her proposals really work? And the moment caught on camera. The co-author of the fringe right-wing group Project 2025 saying former President Trump is privately aligned with them. This as Trump distances himself from their controversial blueprint to return him to power. Neighbor shooting verdict. The Florida woman learning her fate after shooting and killing a black mother of 4. The quick jury deliberations and the powerful reaction from the victim's family tonight. India's escalating protests, thousands marching through the streets after the rape and murder of a doctor. Outrage over the brutal assault prompting hospitals to go on strike. Demonstrators demanding justice, accusing police officers of mishandling the case. Monsoon nightmare. Dramatic video as floodwaters crash through a Utah home. Intense floods bursting through a window, forcing a family to run away. The powerful storm leaving communities inundated. Plus, traffic cam photo booth, a new website turning snapshots on the streets of New York City into selfies. The project putting a twist on city surveillance. We take to the streets to test out the creative photo op for ourselves. And the woman under arrest for plotting to extort Elvis Presley's family, her alleged scheme to sell the iconic Graceland mansion. Top story starts right now. Good evening. I'm Valerie Castro in for Tom Llamas. Tonight, Hurricane Ernesto bearing down on Bermuda. The Category 2 hurricane is the strongest storm to slam the island in nearly 2 years. As the outer bands begin to approach, rough waves and gray skies surround Bermuda. Residents spent the day boarding up, preparing for a dangerous storm surge and life-threatening flooding. Travelers rushing to catch final flights before the airport shuts down. Ahead, we hear from one couple lucky enough to make it out in time. And right now, Puerto Rico still picking up the pieces after Ernesto hit just days ago. The island's vulnerable power grid struggling to keep up in the wake of the storm. At this hour, more than 200,000 customers remain in the dark. That accounts for roughly 15% of the island. Here's a look at the hurricane's path as it closes in on Bermuda. Though the storm is far from the U.S. mainland, its impacts will be felt along East Coast beaches. Beachgoers from Maine down to Florida on alert for dangerous rip currents and rough seas throughout the weekend. NBC's Guad Venegas is in Bermuda as conditions rapidly deteriorate.
Bermuda bracing for impact. The small island territory in the middle of the Atlantic shutting down businesses and its airport tonight as Hurricane Ernesto, now a Category 2 storm, approaches. Government officials warning residents and tourists.
This is not a storm to be taken lightly. We are about to endure at least 36 hours of hurricane and tropical storm force winds.
Cruise ships escaping the island before the storm and airlines running final flights before a shutdown. Larry and Barbara Gordon from Philadelphia are on what could be the last flight out tonight.
So we're lucky that we're getting out of town before all the hell breaks loose, I guess.
Others with no choice but to ride it out.
What else have you done today to prepare for the storm?
Bolted up windows, relatives' houses.
Back in the U.S., Ernesto likely to trigger life-threatening rip currents along the East Coast. Officials reminding beachgoers not to fight the current and swim parallel to shore, hoping for the best possible outcome as Ernesto heads toward Bermuda.
All right, and now let's turn to Angie Lassman for more on Bermuda's path. Angie, what's the latest on the track?
Yeah, so Valerie, the system is inching closer and closer to Bermuda. They're already starting to see some of those impacts, and conditions are going to continue to deteriorate into the overnight hours and into early tomorrow morning. Right now, winds at 100 miles per hour, Category 2, of course, 125 miles to the south-southwest of Bermuda. But those tropical storm force winds, they extend 275 miles from the center of this system. The hurricane force winds not yet arriving just yet. That'll happen into the overnight hours and into early tomorrow morning as the eye comes either very near or over over the island of Bermuda. So we'll deal with those 100+ mile-per-hour winds for folks there for the start of their Saturday. We'll also see potentially dangerous storm surge and that coastal flooding. When it comes to the rainfall, we saw what happened in Puerto Rico with the ample amounts of rainfall. We're expecting anywhere from 5 to 7 inches of rain for the more widespread amount, but we could see localized spots up to 10 inches. This means that the flash flooding will be considerable and dangerous throughout the day on Saturday, likely lasting into early Sunday, even as that system pulls away. That's the kind of timeline for this here as we get into the later parts of the weekend. We'll start to see the system pull away. Bermuda, of course, will not be dealing with the impacts anymore, but we could potentially be looking at some minor impacts for Atlantic Canada here as we get into the early parts of our next work week as that system continues to weaken. It is well off the coast of the United States, though, still impacting folks up and down the East Coast, really from Rhode Island down to Florida. That's where you'll see those red flag warnings. With a system this size, it is quite massive. We know that those large swells that can be generated from this are going to be problematic. That means that the coastal erosion will likely be something that folks deal with up and down the East Coast, as well as the rip current risk. That is going to be something that folks that are planning on making it a beach weekend or a boating weekend will have to be mindful of through Sunday and even into early next week, Valerie.
All right, a lot to keep in mind. Angie Lastman, thank you. Of course. Now to the other major story we're following tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris announcing her economic plans for the first time since she entered the 2024 race, rolling out her agenda today as her opponent, former President Trump, faces backlash for new comments about honoring veterans. Gabe Gutierrez is in Raleigh, North Carolina with the details.
Tonight, Vice President Harris is rolling out her economic agenda, acknowledging most Americans are dissatisfied with the cost of living.
Because look, the bills add up. For many families, there's not much left at the end of the month.
But saying her proposals will provide relief.
Donald Trump fights for billionaires and large corporations. I will fight to give money back to working and middle-class Americans.
Including an expanded child tax credit, up to $6,000 for families with newborns, and up to $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. Crystal Harden calls that proposal a game changer for her 2 daughters.
That is going to tremendously affect my family because 2 homes will be purchased right away.
And tonight, Harris is also calling for a controversial proposal to fight inflation, a federal ban on what her campaign calls price gouging in the food industry.
Most businesses are creating jobs, contributing to our economy, and playing by the rules. But some are not.
But Harris is providing few details on her plans, which one nonpartisan group says will add $1.7 trillion to the deficit. And both Republican and Democratic economists have argued against government price controls. Former President Trump comparing the policy to Venezuela's socialist leader, Nicolas Maduro.
We call it the Maduro plan, like something straight out of Venezuela or the Soviet Union. This announcement is an admission that her economic policies have totally failed.
Inflation recently dropped to 2.9%, but prices are up nearly 20% compared to 4 years ago.
This is how the sausage is made.
Fred Von Cannon blames Biden and Harris, telling us inflation has doubled the price of brisket at his barbecue restaurant here.
Our food costs here are incredibly high. The everyday things that people feel are still way high.
While tonight, the Harris campaign is blasting the former president for suggesting the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which honors civilians, is better than the Congressional Medal of Honor, which is given to service members.
It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets or they're dead.
Gabe Gutierrez joins us now from Raleigh, North Carolina. And Gabe, now J.D. Vance is coming to Trump's defense about those comments you just had at the end of your story about the Medal of Honor.
Yeah, that's right, Valerie. Senator J.D. Vance, a veteran himself, is defending former President Trump and saying that he wasn't denigrating anyone and just praising the person who was receiving the Medal of Freedom. But the Harris campaign says it's an insult to all Medal of Honor recipients, Valerie.
Gabe, there's some other news about former President Trump. There's a new video that's emerged showing the co-author of the right-wing fringe group Project 2025 caught on a hidden camera with a journalist from the Center for Climate Reporting talking about their relationship with Trump. Talk to us about this video.
Yeah, Valerie, this is a British journalism nonprofit that poses relatives of a wealthy donor, which is a practice which is more common in British journalism. And this video was published yesterday by the nonprofit, again, by a person directly involved with Project 25. Take a listen to some of that video.
expect to hear 10 more times from the rally, the president, distancing himself from the left's boogeyman of Project 2025.
Yeah. And you're not worried about that?
I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
He's been at our organization. He's raised money for our organization. He's blessed it from the, I remember walking into our last day in office and told him what I was going to do. So he's very supportive of what we do.
Now, Valerie, the person in that video is Russell Vaught. He is one of the authors of Project 2025, which, as you mentioned, is a blueprint for a potential second Trump term. Now, former President Trump has distanced himself publicly from Project 2025, but in that video, Vaught goes on to say that he believes that former President Trump is just saying that publicly for politics. Now, we did reach out to the Trump campaign and have not heard back. Valerie?
All right, Gabe, thank you. For more on the economy and how it's shaping this election, I want to bring in Robert Reich. He's the Chancellor's Professor of Public Policy at the University of California, Berkeley. He served as the Secretary of Labor for President Bill Clinton and was a member of President Barack Obama's Economic Transition Advisory Board. Robert, thanks for joining us tonight here on Top Story. Kamala Harris just laid out her economic plan for the first time. What do you make of it, and how do you anticipate voters might respond?
Well, Valerie, it's very impossible to tell how voters are going to respond, but I think it's a very important plan because what Kamala Harris is doing, building upon the very important work that was done by Joe Biden, is to attack the source, one of the most important sources of high prices, and that is monopoly power. A lot of big corporations in America have had record profits because they don't compete very hard. There are very, very few competitors, and therefore they don't have to reduce their prices. And who ends up holding the bag? Who ends up paying high prices? Well, obviously consumers.
Of course, her opponent, former President Donald Trump, has been focusing more on the economy, really going in on the Biden-Harris administration. Just yesterday, he said this in his press conference. Let's take a listen, and then we'll talk about it.
Now Kamala is reportedly proposing communist price controls. She wants price controls. And if they worked, I'd go along with it, too, but they don't work.
All right. What are your responses to the president's comments there, former President Trump?
Well, there is a huge difference between price controls, which she doesn't want. There's nobody in the administration, the Biden-Harris administration, that has ever talked about price controls. There's a big difference between that and actually making the market competitive. In fact, this is the opposite of price controls. When big corporations have the kind of power they have over prices, they control prices. When you have more competition, when you get rid of monopolies, you actually force companies to do what capitalism is supposed to force them to do, and that is compete.
Let's take a look at some polling. A recent Fox poll shows Trump is still leading Harris on the economy, with 52% of voters picking Trump as better on the economy, while 46% picked Harris. And in a recent CNBC poll, 40% of voters said a Trump victory would make them better off financially versus 21% who said a Harris victory would help them more. So some would say President Biden has done well with the economy. What is the problem with the Democrats' messaging that this perception exists? And is Harris's new plan enough to change things?
Well, let's be very, very clear. 3 years ago, we had rampant inflation. Now, that inflation came because of supply side shocks. It came because suddenly the pandemic was over and people had a lot of money to spend. It came because the government, including the Trump administration, had spent a lot of money to get the economy going and keep people going during the pandemic. So there are a lot of causes for that inflation, but it happened mostly on Joe Biden's watch, and people blamed him. Now inflation is coming down. But, and here's the big problem, although inflation is coming down, prices, particularly in food and fuel and rents, are not coming down. Inflation is going down, but the prices are staying there. And this is why it's so important to attack the sources of that price power, that is big corporations.
And do you think the Harris campaign has enough fuel there to make a change in those polls, to see those changes?
Well, I think so. I mean, what the Biden-Harris administration has done, is to give the antitrust division of the Justice Department and the Federal Trade Commission. Those are the two agencies that have the power to bust up monopolies. Give them the power to do so and support them. And this is the first administration, the Biden administration is the first in roughly 50 years that has been very, very firm on anti-monopoly trust busting. Now, I think the Harris administration is going to be even harder on those big monopolies. That's the indication now. She is talking about doing that with food and groceries. You know, 4 firms control about 70% of the entire grocery market. They can easily coordinate, and they are coordinating their prices. That's why grocery prices are not coming down.
All right, Robert Wright, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Valerie.
And a programming note, starting this Monday, you can watch special coverage of the Democratic National Convention here on NBC News Now, starting at 4 p.m. Moving now to the latest on the investigation into Matthew Perry's death. Tonight, new details emerging about the 5 people charged in connection to the actor's accidental overdose last year. This as prosecutors say Perry's ketamine addiction had spiraled out of control. Chloe Malas has that report.
Friends star Matthew Perry had an out-of-control ketamine addiction, according to federal prosecutors, injecting the drug 6 to 8 times a day in the week before his accidental overdose. This as new details emerge on the 5 people charged in connection with his death.
They saw him as a payday, and they saw it as an opportunity for them to make a lot of money.
Including Dr. Salvador Plasencia, who prosecutors say told a patient Perry was too far gone and spiraling in his addiction. But they say still sold the star ketamine through Perry's live-in assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa. Iwamasa has pleaded guilty to conspiracy to distribute ketamine causing a death. Ketamine is a drug used in general anesthesia and prescribed in low doses as treatment for depression. It's also used as a well-known party drug. Iwamasa says he injected Perry the day he died at 8:30 a.m. and again at 12:45 p.m. Just 40 minutes later, the document says Perry told the defendant, "Shoot me up with a big one," referring to another shot of ketamine. Iwamasa later found Perry unresponsive, face down in the pool, according to investigators. Dr. Plasencia charged Perry at least $55,000 for vials of ketamine in the month before he died, according to prosecutors. Court documents allege Plasencia, who pleaded not guilty, taught Perry's assistant how to administer the drug to the actor. Plasencia's attorney denies the claim.
He wasn't giving extra doses for a layman to administer.
The so-called ketamine queen, Jasveen Sangha, was also supplier of ketamine to Perry and an alleged drug trafficker for many others, according to prosecutors.
Matthew Perry's death was last fall, and then we did a search warrant earlier this year, and she was still running a drug emporium.
Chloe Malas joins us now from Los Angeles. Chloe, has the so-called ketamine queen entered a plea yet?
Yes, she has. So she is pleading not guilty. There are others, though, who have taken a plea deal, including Kenneth Iwamasa, Matthew Perry's live-in assistant, but he could still face up to 15 years behind bars. I just want to take a moment to talk about the ketamine queen for a moment, because some people are saying, you know, could she potentially take a plea deal? But we don't even know if there could potentially be one on the table with federal investigators. And, you know, as part of this indictment, this sweeping 18-count indictment, in there, they also allege that in 2019, that Sangha sold ketamine that killed a young man. And she's also being charged in connection with that crime as well. And according to the Justice Department, when they actually searched her residence, they found 79 vials of ketamine, 1.4 kilograms of pills containing methamphetamine, psilocybin mushrooms, cocaine, prescription drugs. And remember, in that press conference that they did this week, federal investigators, they said that she was running a drug emporium even after Matthew Perry was found dead. And so, you know, they feel very confident that obviously she is guilty. Obviously, she's pleading not guilty. Her attorney, Mark Garagos, is, or one of her attorneys, Mark Garagos, has come out and said that this is a tragedy, but not a crime. But obviously, investigators, they don't feel the same way.
All right, Chloe Malas, thank you for that. And for more on the questions surrounding ketamine use and the dangers involved, I want to bring in Dr. Ricardo Palmarola, who specializes in urology. Doctor, thanks for being with us tonight. In your practice, you're seeing a growing number of cases of people abusing ketamine. What can you tell us about that, and what is most concerning?
Thank you for having me on tonight, Valerie. So the biggest concern with ketamine use that I see as a urologist is ketamine cystitis. And just like other conditions in the bladder, we don't talk enough about them. So just like we don't associate bladder cancer, for example, with smoking, same goes with ketamine. So what I see in my practice is ketamine cystitis, which basically is the result of long-term use and sometimes short-term heavy use of ketamine, which turns a normal bladder into essentially an end-stage bladder. And what I mean by that is a bladder that is low in capacity. So it literally shrivels up the bladder to the point that the patient can't even tolerate 100 milliliters of urine in their bladder. That sends them to the bathroom. It gives you pain, blood in the urine. It can even reflux urine back up to your kidneys and cause kidney damage requiring dialysis in the future. So fortunately, it's not very common, but we are seeing a lot of young patients, unfortunately, in the order of 20 to 30 years old that are suffering from this condition. And probably the most worrisome thing I see with this is that these patients are being introduced to the drug as a benign kind of no harm drug, and it really is a hard drug in the wrong hands. So I think it's something we should be talking about, not just from the overdoses, but also from chronic use and heavy use, which we do see here in South Florida, and I used to see in New York City as well.
And are you seeing a growing number of these cases? How big of a problem is this?
So fortunately, it's not a very common problem, but we do see quite a bit in urologic practice. And unfortunately, a lot of these patients are just not being recognized, either because they're not presenting to the physicians. In the UK study, which the UK has seen a lot more ketamine than we have in the past, only about 15% of patients will present to a physician, and about 3% will actually go to a specialist in order to help deal with their urinary issues, and not to mention other issues that can come along with ketamine abuse. So although it's a very good drug for the right reasons, like anesthesia and combat medicine, as well as for psychiatric purposes, when it's left in the wrong hands and it's also used for partying, it can really turn into a really dangerous situation for young patients that have many years to live. So it really can be life-changing in many ways, not just from the drug, but also from the consequences that really never go away once they set in.
Dr. Prosecutors have alleged Matthew Perry was regularly getting 6 to 8 ketamine injections a day before his death. What are the risks of injecting this without medical supervision, and if it's obtained illegally?
It's very dangerous. So it's not just how many times he was using per day, but I'm not sure if we're privy to the facts of how much dosing he's been getting. And without supervision of his vital signs, for example, it's just a setup for a complication. So usually patients that are using it for therapeutic purposes are monitored closely. Their vital signs are monitored. They have a physician or a nurse with them just to monitor their vital signs as well as their condition so that these kinds of problems don't happen. I mean, you can imagine this is an anesthetic. It should be used in a controlled fashion. So when it's done recreationally or in an uncontrolled setting, it's just asking for problems in the immediate setting, not to mention the chronic ones that we just mentioned.
And I know you mentioned that the therapeutic use. We know Perry had been undergoing supervised ketamine infusion therapy to treat depression and anxiety. Walk us through what that means.
So especially since the 2000s, we've seen an explosion in literature with regard to ketamine's use for depression. That's really the biggest indication that it's used for. And in a controlled setting, it's actually a fantastic drug. It works right away, whereas traditional antidepressants take several weeks to work. But it really does have to be monitored very closely, especially since the patients can have pretty significant cardiovascular consequences when they're not being monitored. It's been used for other indications like PTSD and OCD. So it has the potential to be a great drug, but just like many drugs that we use in medicine, if they have a potential for abuse, once they're popularized in medicine, they can find their way into the community, and unfortunately in this case, into an unmonitored situation that resulted in an unfortunate death.
Doctor, do you think these high-profile charges involving the death of a celebrity will actually discourage people from abusing this drug?
That would be the most positive outcome from all of this. However, just like many drugs of abuse, it really comes down to the individual's choice, whether to use them recreationally or not. I felt compelled to talk about this because the patients that I'm seeing are introduced to this drug by friends or acquaintances, and it's really labeled as a harmless drug. There's no hangover effect, and they really can use the drug and it wears off rather quickly. And for light users, it might not be as bad as some of the other hard drugs, but as we're finding with other drugs on the street, it could be blended in with other substances. So down here in South Florida, as well as in Latin America, there's some mixes like Tucci, which is a combination of ketamine with cocaine and possibly opiates. So, kids are really not being informed very well amongst peers. So it really is an important conversation to have with youngsters. I mean, kids as young as 15 are using this. So it really is an important on a national scale.
Dr. Ricardo Palmarola, we appreciate your time. Thank you. Moving overseas now, Ukraine's surprise invasion into Russia gaining ground as Moscow's military struggles to respond. This, as many in Ukraine hope it is a turning point. NBC's Aaron McLaughlin has more.
Tonight, new video shows the moment Ukrainian soldiers crossed the Russian border. In the video released by the Ukrainian military, you see the Russian border checkpoint in ruins, Russian soldiers waving white flags. Another video shows a Ukrainian soldier driving through the bombed-out Russian countryside unchallenged, then celebrating driving back a Russian tank.
Welcome to Ukraine.
It's the largest attack on Russia since World War II. The goal? To draw Russian forces away from Ukraine's Donbass region, where the Ukrainians have been steadily losing their own ground. A key advisor to President Zelensky telling NBC News he believes Russia will start redeploying their troops step by step. But on the front lines inside Ukraine, this Ukrainian drone operator, who asked we withhold his identity for security reasons, tells us that while the incursion into Russia has improved Ukrainian morale,
all soldiers see that we can do something.
There's no sign of a Russian redeployment. Ukrainian forces are still outmanned and outgunned, and Russia has constant reinforcements. So they're just throwing men at the situation.
No, like Soviet Union in Second World War.
Ukrainian military officials say the front line here in Ukraine remains a concern and a top priority. Valerie?
Aaron, thank you. Still ahead tonight, Judgment Day for the Florida woman who fatally shot her neighbor. A jury finding her guilty of manslaughter for killing a black mother of 4. The emotional reaction from the victim's family outside the courthouse tonight. Plus, monsoon nightmare. Wild video shows floodwaters blasting through a home as intense storms unleash torrential rains in Utah. And the scheme to steal Graceland. A woman arrested for plotting to extort Elvis Presley's family. How she did it and the charges she's now facing. We'll explain. Back now with the late development in a trial we've been watching closely. A Florida jury finding Susan Lorincz guilty of manslaughter for shooting her neighbor, A.J. Owens, through her own front door last year during a dispute. NBC's Kathy Park was at the courthouse today and spoke to the Owens family moments after the verdict was read.
Can you please hand the verdict to the bailiff, please?
After less than 3 hours of deliberation,
All right.
the Florida jury convicted Susan Lorincz of manslaughter more than a year after she shot and killed her neighbor, Ajika A.J. Owens, through a front door. Lorincz appearing stoic as a verdict was read.
The defendant is guilty of manslaughter.
The week-long trial put a spotlight on the ongoing feud between the two neighbors and how it reached a boiling point last June after a dispute over Owens' children. Owens confronted Lorincz at her apartment, banging and cursing through the door. Jurors watched Lorincz tell detectives her side of the story, captured on video shortly after the shooting.
I thought she was just going to break down the door.
Okay.
So, I mean, my heart was pounding, and I was like, she's really going to kill me.
Prosecutors argued there was no evidence Owens was trying to break through and posed no imminent danger, and therefore firing a gun was not justified.
It's not a crime to bang on somebody's door. It's not a crime to yell.
Attorneys for Lorincz said she had a right to defend herself at the time, leaning into this animated simulation of what may have played out.
If someone who is on the outside of your door that is banging and pounding so hard wants to get in that house and they do, it is too late. And Susan Lorincz had no idea what Ajik Owens had on her.
Investigators say Owens was not armed. Lorincz did not take the stand, but she wrote a note to AJ's children last year, read aloud by a detective.
I am so sorry for your loss. I never meant to kill your mother. I was terrified your mom was going to kill me. I shot out of fear.
Family and friends of AJ Owens appeared in court each day and broke down in tears after hearing the verdict.
Oh, God, thank you, Jesus.
And outside the courtroom, a moment of reflection after a painful journey toward justice.
If you had an opportunity to say something to Susan right now, what would you tell her?
No words for Susan Lorincz.
Her mom asking the community to keep AJ's children in their prayers.
I find some peace with that verdict. I feel that although my daughter is gone forever, the children's mom is gone forever, but we've achieved some justice for Ajika. My heart is a little lighter, and we're now on the path of true healing.
Lorincz will now remain in the Marion County Jail without bond. Her sentencing is scheduled for a later date. She could be looking at up to 30 years in prison. Valerie?
All right, Kathy, thank you. Coming up, the terrifying big rig crash on a California highway. Dramatic dash cam video capturing the moment a truck collides with a median, what that truck was carrying that spilled all over the freeway. And protests escalating in India. Demonstrators outraged after a doctor was raped and murdered. The hospitals closing their doors to demand justice. We're back now with Top Stories news feed, and we begin with the foiled scheme to steal Elvis Presley's Graceland home. Lisa Janine Finley arrested this morning for allegedly forging loan documents, claiming the Presley family owed a fake company millions of dollars. Finley tried to foreclose on Graceland to collect on the fake debt. However, a Tennessee judge threw out the case. The 53-year-old from Missouri now charged with aggravated identity theft and mail fraud. 10 service members injured in a helicopter training accident near Reno, Nevada. Authorities saying a hard landing in a helicopter resulted in minor injuries for the service members who are stationed at Naval Air Station Fallon. 2 Black Hawk helicopters brought the victims to a hospital. The incident still under investigation, according to Navy officials. Floodwaters bursting into a Utah home following massive rainstorms. Dramatic video shows the floodwaters rushing through a window with the family in the house. Thankfully, the homeowner posting that her family is okay. Earlier this week, a monsoon over Salt Lake City slammed the region with heavy rain and hail. A new video shows a terrifying crash on an LA highway. A dash camera capturing the moment a big rig slammed into the highway median. The pole of a traffic sign splitting the truck's trailer in half, sending boxes of raisins into oncoming traffic. Police say the semi had a flat tire that caused the driver to lose control. Only the driver reporting minor injuries. Next, we move overseas tonight to the protests rocking India. Outrage pouring out onto the streets for a second straight week as thousands protest the brutal murder and rape of a 31-year-old junior doctor. The nation's largest association of doctors calling for a strike tomorrow that will shut down all non-emergency services for 24 hours. NBC Foreign correspondent Josh Letterman reports.
Tonight, India's doctors are saying no more, preparing to shut down hospitals for 24 hours over the alleged rape and murder of a junior doctor that's put a spotlight on women's rights in the world's most populous country.
It is such a heinous crime that all of the India should be ashamed. This is just one victim, but all of us know that there are so many victims like her who go unnamed, whose story we never hear.
The protests, now in their second week, are growing in size, cropping up in cities across the country, from Mumbai to New Delhi, and in Kolkata, where the murder took place last week. Authorities say a 31-year-old doctor in training was on the overnight shift at a government hospital and took a nap in a lecture hall. Her body later discovered covered in blood, and an autopsy confirming she was raped. Authorities arresting a volunteer police officer who worked at the hospital. But medics and women's rights activists say it's not enough. If a woman is unsafe at her workplace, where will she be safe? This protester says. The The demonstrations have largely been peaceful, aside from some damage at the hospital where the murder took place. Police say dozens were arrested for vandalism and hundreds more for other violations. But this movement is about more than one murder.
There has been a complete lack of law and order in this state. This is not the first case of heinous rape. People are just completely fed up with the administration's lack of proper response to hold those accountable.
Even after the gang rape of a young woman in Delhi on a moving bus back in 2012, 4 men were convicted of that rape and sentenced to death, and a juvenile served time in prison. Official statistics showed there were more than 31,000 rapes reported in India in 2022, a 20% jump from the year before, and a conviction rate of less than 30%.
India is a deeply patriarchal society. As someone who identifies as a scholar of gender studies, this is something that is very deep-rooted in our culture, even now. I think what happens is because of this sort of attitude, there are delays in justice.
This week, Prime Minister Narendra Modi saying, as a society, we must think seriously about the atrocities against our country's mothers, sisters, and daughters. Atrocities prompting a national reckoning in India tonight, women and doctors insisting enough is enough. That national strike will start tomorrow and last for 24 hours. The Indian Medical Association says all hospitals, public and private, will shut down with the exception of emergency services, grinding the medical system to a halt in the nation of more than 1.4 billion people. Valerie?
Josh Letterman, thank you. Now to top stories, Global Watch. Sudan's humanitarian crisis hitting a catastrophic breaking point. The International Organization for Migration now saying more than 10.7 million people fled their homes, creating the world's largest displacement crisis. The African nation spiraling amid heightened tensions between the military and a notorious paramilitary group, devastating floods further worsening the conflict that has already killed thousands. Several passengers injured in a bus crash caught on camera in Peru. The video shows the bus losing control at a high speed, swerving across lanes before smashing into multiple cars stopped at a traffic light in Lima. At least 10 people were hurt and treated at a local hospital. Local officials say the bus possibly ran out of brake fluid. And a massive water main break sending water shooting into the sky over Montreal, a wall of water spewing 65 feet into the air. Ankle-deep water rushing through the streets and flooding basements. The city issuing a boil water advisory for eastern Montreal. The cause of the break is under investigation. Coming up next, the new website that can help you turn a crosswalk into a catwalk. It's called Traffic Cam Photo Booth, and it uses hundreds of cameras across New York City to help you snap the perfect selfie. We'll talk to the creator about how it works and how he's hoping to raise awareness about the surveillance happening all around us. Back now with the new photo trend going viral. A Brooklyn-based artist tapping into New York City's vast network of traffic cameras, taking the selfie to new heights and raising awareness about the technology all around us.
At intersections across New York City, there's a new way to take a selfie, hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, you got me.
Wall Street's Charging Bull, Radio City Music Hall, even Central Park. All under the eyes of cameras, available live on trafficcamphotobooth.com.
That's crazy.
Brooklyn-based artist Maury Coleman built the website using publicly available camera streams from the city's Department of Transportation.
This traffic camera is one of 900 that exist all around New York City. Obviously, these cameras are for cars. They're not made for people, but people still get caught up in their lenses.
He gave us some tips and tricks to get the most out of the site.
These cameras update every 2 seconds, so you want to pose for 3 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, and then tap. Then what we can do is we can, change something about what's going on. Again, stay in the crosswalk, tap again. You can see me here, and let's go back onto the sidewalk so I don't stop this car from coming by. Make one more big pose, 1, 2, 3, and tap, and boom.
Traffic Cam Photo Booth quickly going viral since its launch last week.
I think 60,000 visits to the website and over 40,000 photos have been taken.
But some people worried about the potential for bad actors to take advantage of the city's cameras.
I think maybe someone can stalk you and see where you, for real, someone can just see what you're doing and can be dangerous. I don't know, people can be crazy.
Maury says he created the website to call attention to the impact of technology and surveillance on our everyday lives.
And so people get really almost jarred by the sheer amount of surveillance happening. And again, remember, this is a fraction of all the cameras around us. So just consider that huge amount of coverage multiplied by hundreds.
Despite those concerns, other users finding creative ways to use the site.
A lot of people will do it to take group photos. I've seen some people start to use it as a way to take like night out on the town photos.
Making these once unexpected photographs a little more intentional.
And then all you need to do is just screenshot it and it's ready to share.
One selfie at a time. Thanks so much for watching Top Story. I'm Valerie Castro in New York for Tom Llamas. Stay right there. More news now on the way.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.